Beauty, yes, we look at initially from the outside, but really, I think it starts from within. And that comes from everything. It's like you can, if you have such negativity going on in your body because you're so negative towards other people or whatever it is, that is really going to portray, in your outside appearance.
The reason why we have such a perceived notion of femininity and beauty and being sexy, etc., is because that is what the masculine side of society has been able to receive so far.
So when you start talking about quite a masculine thing like weaponizing beauty, it's just almost like, why do you feel you need to shield yourself?
Be your highest self with MYLSD.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my LSD Dose, the podcast that explores how to be your highest self in life, relationships, sex, work, wellness, and so much more. You name it, and we got you. If you are new here, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and subscribe to Thrive. All the services, products, book info, videos that we use in this episode will be mentioned in the links below. Please check them out. We have a lot of great courses and supplements, everything to do with wellness, beauty, self-love, confidence, and so much more. I'm your co-host, Maria.
And I'm your co-host, Stay. Stay here and stay tuned.
That's right.
Wow. Okay, so hi guys. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about understanding beauty in all forms, the good, the bad, the beautiful, and the ugly, but through a female lens, featuring beauty and wellness entrepreneur, blogger, and mother of two daughters, Stephanie Abrishamchi, and also my very, very dear best friend of many years. To get a little bit more concrete, we're going to dive deeper into what is beauty versus what it is not. How does beauty change in terms of our perception through the ebbs and flows and phases through life as a woman, different perceptions on nutrition, health, wellness, fitness, and even pregnancies and motherhood and being a wife. Oh, exciting times. Without further ado, let's welcome Stephanie Abrishamchi. Yay!
Yay! Welcome.
Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited, Stephanie, for you to share your background, your journey with beauty, because you used to be a supermodel working for Storm, and now you're a beauty blogger that's all about health and wellness. And it's great to see your journey and find out how that has transformed for you and what that means. Let's get started.
Of course. It's definitely a roller coaster. The meaning and understanding of beauty, and actually growing up knowing that, okay, we all have this perception of what is beauty. And I knew that I would say it like being a model, that I knew there was something different to me. I can be honest, I'm even embarrassed to say it, but growing up, that people would look at me on the street a different way. And I never really liked the attention, to be honest. I used to kind of dumb myself down. I still do. I don't like so much to be in the limelight. So modeling for me was a real confidence booster initially. Although then the whole thing, okay, you need to diet and you need to do this and do that, came in. At the same time, it was very much a way for me to express myself in a way that it gave me that confidence. Okay, this person wants me, but how positive that is when I say it out loud now, I definitely think it has more negative connotations that a lot of people are now talking about with the industry. So I started modeling when I was 13, fully with my parents. They were involved, very safe. I was with a big agency in London called Select, and then actually we moved over to Storm when I was 14. For me, that was kind of how I got involved in the camera, wearing makeup, seeing myself get all glam. I remember my first photo shoot was with this extremely famous photographer, and he asked me to think of something dirty. I was 14, but he needed that glare in my eye. And that was a beauty test shoot. But those comments and things were never even something that were thought about until when I later, again, speaking it out now, think, okay, there is a lot of negativity that comes with this job. So for me, I was judged from a young age of what I looked like. And I think that affected me because I'd already been affected in a way. Like I was bullied. I remember I didn't go in the swimming pool for like 2 years at school because they said I had like elephant legs, and I got really upset about it. The boys were like teasing me when I was super young, and it literally, it still goes on to me now. Like I still feel it, like I
Yeah,
literally was like, I'm not swimming.
it's
So
crazy. I feel
those com
I feel
it's
like
hurt.
we all
For
have those
sure.
things. I have those things too because I used to have like a really because I have Iranian roots. Speaking of, and I used to have like a lot of hair as a kid, and I used to get so with like hair and arms and stuff, and all the boys used to make fun of me, and that still sticks with me to this day. It's like
It's
horrible.
crazy, isn't it? So these small things, I think they start to shape you. And at the same time, it was that weird kind of paradox because then I was this model, but then I was still upset when people would say things about how I looked. But for me, what I realized is the more I met some of the most beautiful women in the world, and what I saw is that you can be so beautiful on the outside, but if you're a real bitch, I'm going to say it, sorry, to bitch if you want to edit
No,
that,
go
but
for
It,
they
it.
looked ugly, they actually looked ugly. And the more I thought about this is where the whole idea of like beauty and what I understand beauty to be, or to how to define, is that it really starts from within. And I know that might sound so cheesy, but to me,
yeah.
I feel what made me different as a person is that I really cared. Well, it's been my worst thing as well because I'm too sensitive, but at the same time, I really cared about others. And so there was that connection, even in when I was working on a shoot or with the photographer, in a different sense, that I was very much caring about being there and other people, and that would show on camera and it would work. So beauty, yes, we look at initially from the outside, but really, I think it starts from within, and that comes from everything. It's like if you have such negativity going on in your body because you're so negative towards other people or whatever
Yeah.
it is, that is really going to portray, in your outside appearance. And I 100% believe that.
I
So,
just wanted to kind of piggyback of that and ask you, being in this kind of industry, which is not the easiest to navigate, especially as a young, like teenager, basically, how did you manage to stay kind and compassionate through, all the pressures that you were being put through, being a teenage model, working with these like high, like end photographers and being surrounded by bitchy women per se, being in
yeah.
this competitive environment, but still staying compassionate and kind towards yourself and others.
Because of how it would make me feel. At the end of the day, if I gave some negative, even now, I don't know if I'm annoyed at someone, I feel so bad, like, or something's peed me off, and I have two daughters, and I'll say to the eldest, like, I don't know, I lose my patience. That makes me feel terrible. And that is why I still can't understand why people enjoy giving off negativity to others. Because really, I
Mm,
honestly, doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't help my day. I get very absorbed and consumed into things like that if I feel like anyone is upset with me or anything. So I just couldn't live. Like for me
yeah.
to feel well, healthy and glow is to be kind and compassionate and to be treated how I want to be treated.
What I'm hearing from your journey is that you, from an early age, began to acknowledge that you were different, but instead of leading from a place of ego, which you easily could have, you understood that with great power comes great responsibility. And I think maybe that's also what you're expressing, is that because of your beauty, it's not like you asked for it, you were born this way. You're 100% natural. You just came out looking the way you did. And this was the reaction that you got. And I think it's such a inspiring and empowering story to hear through your journey, how you acknowledged and saw the impact it had, but then you led with compassion and you led with empathy and you led with that, so that even when people do get a bit startled at first, you show them that actually, like by example, you can be this way and be a kind person and lead with good. And I think that's super, super incredible to hear, especially the fact that you started so young.
Yeah.
What would you say? What would you say? Because me. I did some modeling as well back in London, and I saw like I had friends that were modeling, and everybody had their own individual journey with it. But what would you say that whole modeling chapter gifted you with? What did it gift you with?
I would definitely say it gifted me with, I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but getting more of a thick having more of a thick skin, not being as sensitive to outside criticism, although that's not, it comes with its own negativity. But I would also say having structure, having independence at an early age, which my friends in the holidays were going around to their villas in Spain, this, that, the other, and I would be in London or I'd be traveling for work. And it gave me that sense of independence and power that I have a mom who's a powerhouse. My mom has always been the main breadwinner in my family, and she is incredible, and she's still working at 73, and it's just insane.
Wow.
Like, imagine you have that kind of powerhouse, but then you're a bit more sensitive than she is, for instance, and you've had a more cushy life than she actually grew up with, because for her, she made her way. That modeling kind of gave me that sense of empowerment that I can do this. It was never going to be, I never wanted to be a model for life. And, this for me, it
Yeah.
was always going to be a stepping stone to then go into business, to be able to have that independence that I didn't rely on anyone. And then the crazy
I'm
thing is that I
yeah.
speak like that, but then I got married to an Iranian at 21 that didn't want me to work and didn't want me to do, and it was just such a mind fuck, really. Like, I swear, like,
It's a classic case of that phrase, you make plans and then God has other plans, or
Other plans, yeah.
has other plans for you. So
literally.
I have a question regarding the dynamic between you and your mother, because from what I understand, your mother works in finance, accounting. Is that correct?
Yeah. She's a tax advisor. It doesn't sound that
So
exciting, but
she's a fiscal guru.
yes,
he
yep.
is quite the guru, quite the guru.
Was there ever like a point in which potentially she didn't agree with your kind of choice of path, like kind of leading by looks, and potentially, as some people might call it, like selling your body for pictures?
Yeah.
And
To
was
be
there ever
honest,
a rip
no. And
there?
that's what I love about my mom, the way that she allowed us to express ourselves when we were younger and do, like, she was always a support. She may not have been there all the time because she was working, although
Hmm.
she was very like that, and the kind of more traditional sense of how you earn money, and you with your brain rather than your looks.
Yeah,
She was very much like, this is clever, this is savvy, you are beautiful, you are different, pursue this if you want to. And she was always there as that support. She never said you have to do it, or why are you quitting, or never. Just, it's
but I
really
think that's
important.
so representative of a strong woman who is just so confident in her own self that she allows her children to explore their own path instead of trying to control and kind of put her own perspective and her own ideals and her own understanding of how to make money onto, her offspring as such. So I think
Yeah,
that's beautiful, really. And I think
thank
that's
you.
like really inspirational to many of our audience as well, and to people out there. Yeah.
And just before we go into the next section, I just wanted for you to share a little bit more about what you're currently doing, about your
Yes.
blog, about your business. Just give us a little bit more.
I'm one of these people, Stay knows, we start talking about things. I always have my opinion, and I always like to talk about what I know, and like, I like that kind of. So I was like, why am I not doing this? We're living in a world where we're bombarded with sales pitches every day. We are
Every day.
this new product, this new treatment, blah blah blah, and people don't have the means to be able to try all these products and try all of these miracle treatments. And I was in a position that I could, and I thought, you know what, why not start talking about this? So I created the Conscious Glow, the idea of conscious beauty, having an awareness of what you're putting on your skin, and having an awareness that beauty starts from within. It's a whole
Hmm.
journey. It's to do with wellness and well-being, from your mental clarity to your spiritual, everything. So I started to discuss this, and while I'm also learning as a mom, navigating as a new mom, which is a huge identity crisis, navigating moving back to home,
One way
being a
to put
wife,
it.
and changing. Like, I sit here and I still feel like I have imposter syndrome sometimes, and I'm like,
Hmm.
but why do you think people listen to me? Like, maybe I'm not, and questioning that self-doubt and self-sabotage that I think generally women, we're very good at doing.
Inner
um
critic.
yes.
Yeah.
And actually, but then breaking free, and I have my moments still where I'm like, okay, I stopped doing my journal, or I stopped doing things. um but at the same time, so I kind of thought, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm in the right place, and it just feels right. So then I actually then started a a business with a good friend of mine, Golnaz, which is In Bloom Drops, which is a natural water enhancer.
We're gonna link this
Yeah.
one below, by the way, for all of our audience.
For us, we created 5 blends of it's a distillate. So basically, when you boil, say, rose petals, the top you get the essential oil, which is not good for you to drink. That's good, obviously, to topically put on. And then the steam that comes off goes into a separate kind of container, and that creates the hydrosol distillate. And it's a very purified version of rose water to drink, and it's fully safe to ingest. You can have as much as you want. So this is something that, for instance, you can add into still or sparkling water. None of us drink enough water. Most people in the UK, we did the research. I mean, 60% say they don't drink enough water because they don't like the taste. So we have 5 different blends. So those herbs have the herbs that make these little hydrosols have their own amazing health properties. But at the same time, what we kind of wanted to focus on was that it was there to enhance hydration. It was all about everyone encouraging to drink enough water, which none of us do. So I think that's where I was like, okay, this is great. Because for me, this is what I really believe what beauty is. It starts from within. What do we need to do? The first call of any kind of beauty regime is actually to drink enough water. If you're not drinking water, you can put all the most expensive creams, do the most amazing treatments, you're going to look like shit. You need to drink water. Like that is key. So we really push the fact that we are preservative free, which is something that's impossible in most drinks or most water enhancers. We call it the enhancer because you add it into a still or sparkling water. Like our mint Gilon, it's called. It is basically 15 ml sachet. So they're in sachet form. 15 ml sachet of liquid is basically equivalent of like the strength of 7 cups of fresh mint tea. So it's
Wow.
amazing.
Wow.
Like yeah.
Wow.
So you get the benefits from there. Whether they give you helps with digestion, that's like what functional medicine doctors actually question all the time. But there's so many added benefits of having mint. So regardless if you see it in a digestive point, it's something for me that I just like after dinner or after a big lunch. But again, all of the blends, you can have them as many times of the day. There's no kind of set limit. But what we like and what we kind of why we see it as a wellness product is it fits into kind of a daily ritual. For us, it's about, I
Yeah.
think, anything that you do for yourself, whether that's your skincare routine in the morning, having your cup of I love matcha, my cup of matcha. That's something that I'm intentionally doing for myself to feed my soul every day. And that's what I see in Bloom. It's something different to enjoy and to experiment and to experience instead of just having a mundane glass of water. You can just enjoy it and intentionally feed your soul through a really good way of hydration.
I love it how you say feed your soul through hydration. And I just I love that idea of beauty comes from within, both from your soul and more of a spiritual perspective, and then from your body perspective, from your gut, from, the things that you actually consume. So I think within is all encompassing.
Like that's what wellness should be seen as. And I think so many of us understand wellness as, I don't know, they think, okay, diet, it means this, it means that. No, it's seeing it 360-degree view and just understanding that it encompasses every aspect of our lives that make us feel good.
Guys, so let's move on to the next section. And I wanted to play a clip in terms of defining beauty and what we all think it is. And it's a clip by Megan Fox. I hope.
I'm not afraid to be sexy. I think a woman who's intelligent and also knows how to weaponize her beauty, there's nothing. Jennifer's body. There's nothing more dangerous than that. There's nothing more powerful than that. And so I think I feel like all women should embrace the fact that as the divine feminine, we have a lot of power in that. Instead of rejecting it, I'm happy to embrace it and go for the sexy.
Discuss, because I think there's some pros and cons to what she said, especially utilizing the word weaponize. For me, it doesn't really feel right when we're talking about divine feminine. But I think, so what do you guys think?
Or beauty in general. Should you weaponize beauty?
Exactly. It was the wrong choice of word, to be honest. That just kind of, as soon as she said it, I was like, oh, because that's so far from what we've been talking about, like what I've used beauty, or what I understand or define beauty as to be. So like that to me is giving off a sense of coming, like you said, ego. That's coming from a place of like, okay, I'm gonna not be, but then at the sense of, okay, she's not afraid, which is amazing, because then I think sometimes I've lived in my shadow of being afraid to embrace the fact that I look how I look. But at the same time, it's not just about that. So to weaponize something that I think is I think that just gives that, I think for me, that's giving this whole woman man kind of separation thing. And you're doing that just to go, screw you to a man, or I'm going to use this to destroy,
or control a
again,
man.
Yeah.
And it seems a bit dark. I feel like it's a bit of a puts a hamper on divine feminine, because that's a big topic right now, and people coming, like women,
which we discussed in the previous episode in detail.
So when you start talking about quite a masculine thing like weaponizing beauty, it's just almost like, why do you feel you need to shield yourself? And because if you're truly in your divine feminine, you don't put up a shield, you surrender, and you are able to embrace and receive. So you cannot receive when you're in a state of weaponizing, that's shielding, and it's masculine. So that's kind of what I
it definitely doesn't come from a place of divine feminine. I would just say societally, feminine has been skewed in the way that we understand it and see it. The definition of it has become something of being sexy, having good ass, great tits, being good in bed, you know, having great hair, great skin, you know, looking good at all times, super important. And then you're a feminine, beautiful shell of whatever that represents. The reason why we have such a perceived notion of femininity and beauty, it being sexy, etc., is because that is what the masculine side of society has been able to receive so far from us. You know, that is the only way that they can, like, they have been able to perceive women for such a long time. And so she's then using beauty to retaliate against that kind of perception of women and basically say, fuck you, I'm going to use it, but in a way that is to control you rather than you to control me.
And the way she's talking about it is coming from her own probable insecurities, in the sense of she says intelligence, you know, yes, it's important to be intelligent. I get that as a pretty woman. The first thing, I mean, as a wife to who I'm married to, I'm initially, probably the expectation of me is to be a trophy wife who literally has nothing between here and here. And
especially as a blonde, blue-eyed girl as well.
So, you know, the bimbo. So I feel like that intelligence, she's right, in the sense it's coming from a place of probably what she's been defined as. So I can give her the sense of where she's at, but again, it's the wrong. It's like me going, okay, I've had all of these problems because of modeling, and now I'm going to react like this because of how I feel. Exactly. So I think it's a reaction in a negative way, which is not going to do any favors for herself in the end. I think it's
and
just
for others as a role model. It's like all these young girls are looking at her and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna weaponize my titties and my lips to go and fuck some men off, you know. And look, I honestly, like, on this podcast, none of us are men haters. You know what I mean? I love men. Stay loves men.
I love men.
Steph loves men. I'm with the Middle Eastern man who is like in control. But actually, you know what? When you talk about surrendering, I think women, when you talk about the divine, I think women, we are softer. We are. Absolutely. It's not the way. I'm not meant to be controlled by a man. No. But I also do. Someone in a relationship has to surrender and has to be that kind of soft, feminine energy for it to be able to progress, when there's so much kind of the masculinity of all of that kind of weaponizing things. Of course, it takes the yin and the yang. You need the other person. So actually, I mean,
and it keeps a polarity between a man and a woman. You know, he's there to step into his masculine, which you know,
and you're providing the space for that
to lead, and as a feminine, you have to surrender and provide exactly. So 100%. So actually, that's a good segue to a question I wanted to ask. Guys, if you found this clip fun, exciting, and interesting, please subscribe now and stay tuned for our next parts coming out in a couple of days. Yay! Woo!
Yay! Part 2 on Wednesday. Ow! Subscribe.
Subscribe to thrive.